We have African Americans here and we have Africans here, and that is the most important thing. So today we just want to dialogue. We want to find out things that are putting us apart. We want to find out how to forge ahead and then, you know, get together more and do things together, find common grounds and be one people as we are. So you are all very much welcome to this dialogue.
Thank you very much. We've discussed various methods and techniques of bridging the gap between Africans and African Americans, and between Eric and Pamela, we've certainly discovered that chocolate is a good beginning. So we're going to pass that around, and everybody's more than welcome to take as much as they want. My name is Prince Wells III. I'm from Brooklyn, Illinois, which is about 20 miles away from here. It's about 20 miles. It's right on the Mississippi River. You can see the Gateway Arch just as clear from my hometown. It's the oldest existing black town in the United States, and it's just about 20 miles away from here. So I'm honored, even extremely honored, to be here and be standing before you today. We are going to be discussing a subject that is very important to me, and I think it's important to each one of us. As the title of this presentation states, there appears to be a gap between we Africans and African Americans. I don't think that this means that we have a problem with one another, or as someone was saying, we're here to settle scores. More so, I think it's a good place, and it's a place of tremendous opportunity for us to actually forge a new and better relationship, which I think is why we're here, and people here are very interested in that. I have a master's degree from New England Conservatory of Music in Afro-American music. That's what one of my degree areas is. In the course of studying and researching in that area, history shows that the following occurred during slavery here in America: that it was forbidden for the Africans brought here, it was forbidden to play or make any African instrument. It was forbidden for Africans to dress according to any African custom. It was forbidden for Africans to dance any African any African dances, and it was forbidden to speak any African languages. So I like to say that in a nutshell, it was made illegal to even be an African here. So you might suspect that with people who were pretty much cut off from their home and their culture and any semblance thereof, that there might be something of a perceivable gap between Africans and African Americans, because we certainly don't know we've lost connections with our past and with our families and so forth. But this is a good place for us to be here now today to move forward and build a new positive relationship with one another. I think the so-called gap that's spoken of is just a lack of familiarity with one another. I don't see any other reason for it to exist, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that's fixable. Now, I want to talk about some events because I'm going to use my appearance here as something of a bully pulpit, because I got ideas about how we could go about bridging the gap between Africans and African Americans. Since I'm the moderator, I'll go first. But this is an open forum, an open discussion, and everybody and anybody here is welcome to ask a question or make a comment or respond to somebody else's comment. I think that's perfectly fine. I want to start with my own personal interest. I've been doing genealogy. I'm a good amateur genealogist. I think some of you may have heard me talk about this before, but I've used this traditional standard methods of genealogy, looking at census reports and things like that. And I've been doing some DNA genealogy, and I want to talk about that because for an African American to use traditional genealogy methods will usually lead to a dead end as far as trying to trace roots back to some African ancestor. It's very difficult and in many cases impossible. But the DNA genealogy really makes it possible, maybe not probable, but definitely possible, to make connections with living relatives of past ancestors. And that's exciting to me and to many of my friends and colleagues who do genealogy work. So I have here on the screen my mother on the right and my wife on the left. I was going to use a picture of my mother, and then I put my wife there too. Her name is Jewel. And I did some genealogy work. I had her take one of the DNA tests. And this is what it found. Can you see it?
I guess I would have to go into it.
Yeah, that's fine. It says that my mother is 85% African. And they break it down, it's 42% Nigerian, 19% Benin, Togo, 8% Senegal. Who's from Nigeria here? Some Nigerians here, right? You could be related to my mother. Benin, Togo, you could be related to my mom, see? Senegal. Anybody from Senegal? Nobody from Senegal? She's 8% Senegal, 8% Africa, Southeastern Bantu, etc. It goes all the way down. There's African South Central hunter-gatherers, Ivory Coast, Ghana. Pamela's from Ghana. Isaac is from Ghana. We could be cousins. For real. I mean, for real. We really could be, right? And so on and on and on. And my mother also has a slight bit of Asia South. I think it's Native American, not sure. And other European ethnicities as well. So that's my mother. This is me. 71% African. Out of that, 41% Nigerian. 11% Senegal. Anybody from Senegal? Are you just saying you're not from Senegal because you don't want to risk being related to me? And so on. You can see the list there, and I'll put these up if you want to come back and look at them a little later. But, something like this has certainly made me more than a little interested in what we are talking about, bridging the gap. I mean, I'm very interested in this subject because I'm just not seeing any difference between us other than you came from someplace else. But my ancestors came from the same place. And I just want to make that point. Now, here's my wife. 88% Sub-Saharan African, 57% Nigerian. We've been talking about she beat me. She's more Nigerian than I am, right? And Ivory Coast, Ghana, 15%, Cameroon, 5%, Senegal, Benin, Togo, Mali, and so on. This is the case with most African Americans I'm finding, various degrees of European ancestry, but mostly Sub-Saharan African ancestry. And I think that's where a lot of you all come from, correct? Yeah. So, this is Adi Amoli. Adi. All right, I got to work on the accent. from Nigeria, and he's a match for my family. This guy is really my cousin. Now we can say, hey, he's from Africa, he's my brother. But the thing is, he is my brother, but he's my real DNA, real cousin. He matches my father's family. Not just my dad, but my dad's brother, sister, my cousin. He has a daughter. His daughter matches my dad and so forth. So he's a real relative. And here's his chart. He is 100% African, which you would expect, somebody from Nigeria. It says that he is 52% Benin, Togo, 38% Nigeria, Cameroon, Congo, 8%, Senegal, 2%. So we're in touch with each other on Facebook, and I sent him a message. We've talked using Skype. On Facebook, I told him that I am more Nigerian than you are. And this was funny. He says, yeah, you mopped the floor with me on that one. Yeah. But it was a lot of fun. It's been delightful to know this man and know his family. It's been meaningful and significant in my life to actually make these kinds of connections. And I think that this is not an experience unique to me, but to many of the people that I work with, genealogists. This is more of the same kind of stuff here. It's some of the tools that we've been working with online to see the nature of these relationships. And you kind of see how he at the top. It's a distant relationship that we have. It goes back about 7 generations. But he and I we really are a DNA match. This is Antonio Florentino, one of my DNA matches from Sao Paulo, Brazil. We're in touch with each other on Facebook because we found each other through our DNA test. Chances are Antonio could be some kin to some of you sitting here now, and many other African Americans and Africans, because the slave trade transported, I don't know what the number is for Brazil, but Eric wanted me to mention that the country on earth, the country with the largest number of Africans is Nigeria, right? The second most populous country that has the most Africans in it, people of African descent, is Brazil. Yeah, Brazil. So he's in Brazil. I talked to him. He speaks Portuguese. He doesn't speak English, so we use Google Translate online. So I said, well, you speak English pretty good. He says he doesn't speak English at all. He uses Google Translate. I say, well, how long has your family been in Brazil? He says, since slavery in Brazil. So the connection between our family goes way back. I speculate that we have a common African ancestor as well. Some of his people were ended up in Brazil, mine ended up here. Now, I've been using standard genealogy practices, the paper trail, so to speak. And this is the oldest relative that I can find. His name was Sam Hunter. And he is my great-grandmother's great-grandfather. Now, I knew my great-grandmother. She was born in 1886. I lived a couple of doors down from her. He is her great-grandfather. And in the census reports for 1870, it says that he was 90 years old, that he was born in 1780 in Africa, that he was born around 1780 in Africa. So in the 1870 census, he's already 90 years old, 5 years after the Civil War. He's a slave, obviously, for approximately 85 years. In 1870, he's 90 years old. So that's about as far back as I've gotten. But this was like a real landmark for me in my genealogy. I suspect that any of us doing genealogy work, if we keep digging, you know what we're going to find? An African. Yeah. If we're successful, we'll find them. The DNA genealogy helps. I can't know who any of his descendants were or any of his ancestors. There's no paper trail. There's no way for me to know. But I found him on paper. I know exactly how I'm related to this guy. So this is a very big thing for me. And so I'm interested in more than just bridging the gap, so to speak. My interest is personal. And I'm really interested in recreating family ties and connections, I'm very interested in that. And that's it. That's all I have. So, as we're here today to discuss ways to bridge the gap, whatever that gap is, I've already put my cards on the table, and you know what my interest is. What I'd like to do is to start a genealogy club here on campus. It'd be an easy thing to do. That includes all of us. It'd be talked about at some time in the future. If you have questions about it, you can speak with me here. I'll be around after this presentation. We could talk about it, or in your various groups, Black Girls Rock, or African Student Association, Black Student Union, etc. We can all talk about it. But I want to get on to the open discussion in the forum that includes you. I've talked enough. I want to introduce my distinguished colleague, Dr. Isaac Blankson, who's sitting here, who is more than willing to respond to any questions and talk on the subject, just like I'm doing. And at this point, maybe it would be better if you were to come up here and we could sit at the table, maybe, so that the mic can pick us up. And would you mind? Sure. The floor is open for a discussion. It's not just questions for us, but comments, anything that you have to say, or any questions you have, etc.
Genesis? Yes. Do you have any ideas?
I have so many ideas.
Can we hear one?
Share one, please.
My name is Genesis Young. I hope I have to stand. I am a nursing student here.
Can I ask you to just kind of speak up just a little bit so the mics
Sure.
other people can hear your question and so forth?
Sure. My name is Genesis Young. Here at the organization in the university, I'm the president of the SNAP organization, which is an organization that was formed to help the minority students get along better in the nursing program here. There weren't many resources that minority students could tap into to be successful in the program, and so SNAP is something that has been set forth for that. I actually joined the ASA Association when I came back from Ghana this summer. I joined Dr. Blankson and his wife there this summer for the study abroad trip. And the purpose for me going to Ghana was for me to reconnect with myself and with my ancestors. The thing that excited me the most about going there was that I was going to be able to go to Cape Coast and go back through the door of return. You know, I was going to defy the curse that had been set upon my people. And I truly did find that awakening there that I was looking for. Being in the communities there, being amongst my people, being amongst people that were still remaining where I had come from, and being able to find answers to riddles that were within myself as to why I did things the way that I did, why drums and colors and animals and nature and, you know, community excited me, you know, and things like that. And when I came back, I was so happy, but then I had a moment of being upset because I'm like, wait a minute, there are Africans here and they didn't share this with me. Why? You know? And so I kind of stood up in the meeting when Pamela posed a question because I believe you had laid a question on her as far as how we could, what we could do for this particular format. I said we need to have a myth-busting discussion where African Americans and Africans can sit down and talk with each other, because when I was in Africa and I spoke with Africans there in Ghana, they were telling me of their perception of African Americans, and it was all based on what they see in the media. And it was so untrue and such a small part of a spectrum. And then when I went there, I was seeing something that had not been portrayed to me in the media: the beauty, the architecture, the Renaissance, the theater, you know, the different things that I was exposed to when I was there. So I felt like, well, it looks like this was a purposeful thing of keeping the information separate. And I just felt like it needs to stop, because I feel that together we could be, you know, united, we can be so much more than we realize, than we can be separately.
Is any of the other, so how long were you there in Ghana?
5 weeks.
5 weeks?
Mhm.
Have any of the other African Americans been to Ghana or some of the other African countries?
Yeah.
I haven't either. So. You would recommend this for?
I'm sorry.
You would recommend this for other students
Oh,
as a?
I wish the funding wasn't such a big issue, because I think it's something that's necessary. And although I know it was kind of expensive, it was about $5,000 for everything. 5 weeks. It was a good amount of time. It wasn't expensive for what we got, but it was just, that's a significant amount of money.
But the university has money for travel abroad. There's a program for this here, right? I mean, I think money can be gotten if, you know, if this is a project that we'd like to support, and for students to go travel. I think it's something that we could work on. It's one of the projects we could do, is talking about bridging the gap and so forth.
Well, I actually have an appointment with the provost coming up pretty soon, because there are some students that are actually trying to go on the trip right now, and funding, and they were actually accepted into the study abroad program, and funding is the issue that might keep them from going. So I think that that's a big deal. The thing that I really would like to persuade those that are here that can't make it there is for us to have these dialogues, because there's a richness that we have already here. We're here together, you know, so we actually need to be dialoguing and having festivities together and learning, you know, about each other. I think there are just there's a big gap, and I believe it's because of just region.
Yeah.
You know, that's just a simple thing. It's not that there's something wrong with me or something wrong with you.
Exactly.
It's just regional, and it's being kept that way just out of ignorance, and we know how to break that down. That's why we're at the university in the first place.
I agree 100%.
Right. I am very interested in knowing, because you mentioned myths about, you know, and perceptions about each group, and I believe that those myths and perceptions or misperceptions are the ones that holding us, you know, apart from each other, instead of bringing us together. And from my experiences here, I've heard all sorts of weird reasons why, you know, we can't work together or even go to party or stuff, you know, do things together. So I'll be curious to see what are our reasons, because it defies the statement that birds of the same feather flock together, but we are of the same feather, but we are flocking apart. So, which means there's something that is pushing us apart, and some of it might be structural, some might be even personal. So I'll be very curious to know why we don't seem to work together. Any ideas out there?
Oh no. Please go.
My name is Patricia Merritt. I'm in marketing and communications, and I embrace my African heritage. But I want to ask specifically the Africans in the room, what are some things that you all have noticed so that I can tell other African Americans that you see among either inadvertently that some of us are doing or knowingly that we're doing that keeps the bridge, that keeps the gap between Africans and African Americans? If you can, so I can help share, with some of us who may not know that they're doing it, but like I said, I personally make it, and also too because I'm a reporter, I go in and I try to make connections, but I know a lot of African Americans don't, and I just wanted to say what kinds of things can you tell some of those that are in the room here that we could do to help bridge the gap on the African American side?
Okay. Now, and I hope that my African brothers and sisters who support me will have the similar experience. And Prince, we've talked about this before. I think part of it is that in the African culture, when you travel, wherever you go, you're still the guest. And the openness, the initial openness will have to come from the host. When we come here, most of the people who open up to Africans are white. And therefore, we begin to gravitate towards them. It's even the white people who will ask you, how are you doing? How are you finding your experiences? And in many cases, I have my African American sister or brother walk right past me without even looking at me, let alone ask me how I'm doing and what he or she can do to make my stay here even more enjoyable. So I think for me personally, is that initial, and also in our culture, and I hate to bring it, but it's true, that we cannot take the lead in that relationship because then that will be considered as rude in some senses. Because I cannot come to your house.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, I cannot come to your house and take over your house.
Okay. Right.
That's pretty much the essence of, and so I believe that when a lot of Africans come here, they're looking for the initial hand of gesture. Welcome, I'm your brother, I'm your sister, let's have fun together. And we don't get that from rather it's more like, I don't want to do anything with you or for you or, that kind of stuff. So I think the main message is that reaching out is very important because that tells us that we are welcome and we are recognized as part of you. But if you don't, and it's the other group that is welcoming us, then of course, and I think if you ask a lot of Africans, most of their friends are probably white, myself included. I don't think I even have an African American friend, and I've been here for 20 years plus.
But you did give me your cell phone number last week.
Just last week, can you imagine? And we've been teaching here for so long. It's very disturbing. But again, there are ways to really start building. It's good that we're starting on this level. So that's one thing that I would say.
Can I check?
Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, she had something to say.
Hello, I'm Kyana.
Can you speak up a little?
Hello, I am Kyana Nunnally. I am in ASA and BSU, and I am African American. And I just feel like that, both groups, in a sense, think they might be better than the other, because we all have mindsets that we have, or things that we're taught about another, and it may not necessarily be true, or we just don't understand fully, or we don't know how to be around people who are different from us but are similar to us. So I think that's a problem too. So,
I think if, just to reply, not that my opinion is any more valid than anyone else's, it's just my opinion. But I think things like that come from a lack of familiarity with one another. I just don't see it as having any substance. I don't see it as being a real obstacle or barrier. It just hasn't been my experience. I think what Isaac says is that, we tend not to interact with each other a lot. And I think that things like that come in because of misconceptions, but I just don't see it. I don't even see it as an insurmountable barrier. I don't really see it as a barrier. I think it's just there because we haven't taken steps to get to know one another. So listening to Isaac, and he was talking about, we talked about, when he came here and all the obstacles, the visas and all that kind of stuff, and you get here, and Pamela said this too, and you see people that look like you, they want us to be very friendly toward them, and we treat them like just another black person. And so what we talked about and what we'd like to do is in the fall, the black faculty, and when I say black faculty, I'm talking about Africans and African American faculty. We've been discussing starting a black faculty association. And one thing we'd like to do is in the fall is to have something of a reception for those African faculty, if there are any coming here. Certainly there'll be more students. And if we could all have a nice reception where we all get to know each other and welcome all the new people here, it might be a good start to do. What do you think of that? People nod.
I think it's a good
Very
idea.
subtle nods.
Because I remember when I came back and we had the first ASA meeting, there was a miscommunication where the African students were not notified about the International Day, and they weren't present. And they felt like, why weren't we notified? Like they felt left out, And so I think that's an issue, and I think that feeling welcome versus staying in your huddle is where that needs to be, broken down.
Excuse me for being late. I learned of the setting today last minute, but I wanted to be here. My name is Kevin Tate, Okonfo Kofi Dunyo.
Wow.
I actually have been to Ghana several times since 1998, and I trained.
Where are you from?
I'm from St. Louis.
Okay.
And I trained as a priest there. So I understand what you spoke of when you said the welcoming in is very important. And I also understand the dynamic in that, because there was even children when I was there. They saw us a certain way. They didn't see us as their brother, their sister. They had a name for cotton picker that they would say. So I had to pull the kids to say, what is that you saying? And they told me what it was. I said, oh, don't do that. And I had to explain to them. Because see, a lot of the history is what the problem is. We don't see each other as in that same history. So when you don't fundamentally see that same history, and our history starts with slavery, and you have a history where Kwame Nkrumah, and you see, that's a big problem. So when we see each other on each other's shores, it's kind of standoffish rather than receiving in. Now in the villages and whatnot, I had nothing but love. Welcome in all the time. I've been all over. Techamina, Boabo, throughout, Kumasi. And, but the dialogue is necessary, and the communication is necessary to break your barriers. That is, you are my brother. You are my sister. And you have to have the desire for that to be so before it can come out of your mouth. So it has to start here. Everything starts from you inside. And you have to act on that. And once you do that, you will see, we'll break down all of these misconceptions. One by one. You see. So I think what you're hosting or looking to host in the fall would be very good.
I think so too.
And implement some of our cultural things so we can have a oneness with that. Because that's when you really started to invigorate the investment that's inside you see, and it'll cause for the connection outside you, with your brother, with your sister.
Thank you.
Eric?
My name is Eric, and just in addition to what Prince is saying,
Could you speak up just a little?
Okay. In addition to what Prince is saying, I would like to add that the associations that already do exist, the African Students Association and the Black Students Association, Black Girls Rock, and whichever associations that are there, those would be good platforms that people would meet and talk about issues. Because I think if they do activities together and they coalesce in doing stuff that would bring the togetherness. Because like this is a Black History Month. The African Student Association has activities going on in honor of the Black History Month, but I doubt that the Black Students Association or Black Students Union has a clue that what the African Student Association is part of honoring what they are doing.
Let us know what you think. Elvina?
Walter?
I had to say something. I came in a bit late, but I heard a few things. I heard a comment about sometimes we think one group thinks they're better than the other. I heard a question about what can African Americans do. I've heard a little bit of talk about the Africans and how they feel when they get here, and so on and so forth. And these are all discussions that I had 30 years ago when I was a student, and I was at an HBCU. So this is an ongoing thing. But the one thing I want to say from an African perspective is that you do have to forgive us, because when we come here from the continent, we're not coming here with minds that are wide open, because we're privy to the same images that you see. And so even getting here, we've already got our perceptions, as Eric said, about what an African American person is. Okay? From what we saw on TV and in movies, and you know what those are. They're not usually very positive. So we come in that way. And so it's also up to us as Africans to maybe look beyond that. Because what we're looking for is confirmation. Okay, we saw in this movie that the African Americans were all at the corner smoking. And that's what we're looking for that confirmation. But as Africans, I think we need to go beyond that. So it's not just the African American side looking and saying, what should we do? But we Africans should also be looking and saying, well, are those things true? Are they not true? Does it matter? Are there individuals here? Should we judge them that way? But again, remember, we're coming with all this stuff in there. Yes, we do hear about Martin Luther King. Okay, and we do hear about other African leaders, African American leaders. Okay, but that's a very small part. That's 1% of what we see about African Americans. We see African Americans stealing. And we see them being beaten by police. We see them in those ways. So forgive us when we don't meld with you. One thing I would like to say that I love about African Americans when I walk across campus here is a lot of them nowadays will either nod their head or they'll say, hello, sir. I've become a sir, I guess my age. Those are things that we really love. You know, because that's what we do at home. Whenever you see someone, you never just walk past them. You say something to them, you give them a nod, you acknowledge them. And I try to do that sometimes when I'm in the muck, is that what it's called? When I'm down here, I'm in the muck and I see a group of African American or African students. Just go up to them and say something. It takes a minute, it doesn't cost very much, and you may get some coffee out of it, you never know. So keep those things in mind. We need to think more positively about where we are and how we can interact. We need to think more positively about how we can lift each other up rather than thinking about who's going to beat me and who's going to beat who. But rather, if we all go up, the view will be much nicer. Because when you look down, you won't see anyone down there. We'll all be able to see the place. Thank you.
Thanks, Walter.
Now, you said you had many ideas.
You know, I spoke with a brother on my way out of Ghana. I was on my way to the airport and I was at the cultural center and I was standing by the truck with my artifacts and we just began to converse and he was telling me that Africans were afraid of African Americans. He said that based on what was seen on television, you know, all that they expect is when when their family sends them to America, they say stay away from the African Americans because they are trouble, they represent trouble, and if you associate with them, you will be associated with trouble. And again, after he and I finished talking, you know, he shared some things that he saw on television, and I shared some things that I saw on television. And after it was over, we laughed because it was all so ridiculous. And we know what media does. Media wants to sell things. Africa is, he told me Africa is trying to get money. And so they're trying to present something like they're always making people look poor. And no, everybody is not poor. They got the big bellies and the flies and things like that. I didn't see any of that. I didn't see any of that. When I was there, I didn't see any of that. Okay? So, and they're portraying, the government and the media are portraying things because they have a purpose. They have an agenda that has nothing to do with our unity, trust and believe. Because for sure, there is power in our unity. And that's always been the agenda from when they sailed to now, to keep that power a certain way for those that are trying to do that. So again, if you say it from one end of the room to the other, this is the forum that needs to take place. I don't believe it's a barrier either. I just think it's something that needs to take place because once it does, it'll be so clear, you know. So I just applaud everyone that is here, but I challenge you to be infectious after today, you know, and take what it is that you have and let it grow in your heart like a fire and let it burn everybody that you touch, you know, and walk up to people and touch them and burn them on purpose, you know, so that this never goes away.
Just so you can speak up just a little.
Oh, just to piggyback on what Genesis said, you bring your culture, so bring it. Because that's the thing that we've been disenlarged from for so long.
Starving.
So bring it, because it's in us. You just got to turn it on, you see. Because that's the thing that's going to make us cohesive.
Because there are some people that are on corners and smoking, but those are people that don't know who they are. And like the brother said when he first opened up, there are things that we had to leave our food behind. We were naked. We were put on a ship and separated from our families. We don't know our recipes, our dances. We don't know our colors. We don't know anything. So if you see people walking around looking crazy for 400 years, maybe it's because they are still lost. And where is the connection? You have what I need, sister. Give it to me. I'm hungry. Give it to me. You know.
Pamela and I were in the Black Studies office talking, and I said, well, what do you miss most about being in Ghana, being at home? And remember, she said, the food. I said, well, what's your favorite dish? Because I've never eaten any African meal, never, right? So she started describing, somebody had chicken. I can't remember the name of it.
There were so many that I described.
And she started talking about I say, well, how do you fix it? You know, how do you prepare it? And she started talking about it. And I could hear my stomach start to rumble, you know. And I really got interested in this meal. And then I think that Eric was saying, you know, we have the same kind of meal in Kenya, but, you know, it's prepared this way, it's prepared differently and so forth. And, you know, I would love to know more about the food from the different countries, from the continent. I mean, so I'm coming to African night. My wife and I will be there, bringing my own plate and fork, ready to eat, because I'm really interested. I'm really interested in this. Yeah. The food. Yeah.
We'll serve you some jollof rice.
I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
Originally from Nigeria.
Okay. From Nigeria. All right.
Yeah, because you're Nigerian. We're going to give you Nigerian food.
But I think it's also important that in this day and age, there's really no excuse for being ignorant.
Right.
And so my challenge to all of us is if we don't know, seek that information.
Yes.
And you'll be amazed what you find about each other. Because I found even the power of the internet. You know, don't believe everything you see in the media. If you see it, it's kind of bugging your mind, go online you know, if you want to look at how Nigeria looks like, there's a lot of beautiful pictures even on where how Ghana looks like, or how, you know. So I always don't buy that excuse that, well, you know, I don't know. Find out. And for some of you, it meant traveling to the continent to find out for yourselves. If you don't have the means, you can do a virtual tour. A lot of good stuff online. And so one of the ways that I would encourage you guys to do is to, the students especially, is to do a lot of things together now. From this becomes the opening. There might be challenges, and of course you're not going to get a lot of people there to start with. But something as simple as, hey, you know, just a barbecue, you know, weekend of barbecue to talk about something, or just even just
mingle.
Meet and mingle and talk about each other. Open up a lot of doors, because that's how the barriers get started, you know, to be broken. And so, you know, don't think big. I don't think we should think big. We should think very, you know, simple and things that are doable within a short time frame to bring us. And then the good things will come, you know, would follow. So I would, you know, you guys should probably get together with the Black Union as a leadership and the African Girls Rock and just organize some fun activity for all of us to be there. And so I think that's the initial beginning, because that's where the one-on-one conversations begin to happen, and then they begin to say, oh, actually we have more in common than we have different in terms of differences. So that's my challenge to all of us.
At some point, maybe that can be all one organization.
Yeah, we look forward to a time when BSU will be that strong, you know, to take along all of us, because for now, I've been trying to get BSU here, but, you know, because of the Black Heritage Month, I guess they are busy, and so I never got hold of anybody, but I just know that thinking ahead will get them to be more involved in other things. Any more?
Open forum, open discussion.
Any more ideas?
None? Well, you can always tell us what else is going on here for Africa Week.
Africa Week. So tomorrow in the Goshen, between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m., we are having Afrobeats. We're just going to play Afrobeats. So come dance. We want to take photos, just music, and we want to promote our African night too. We have T-shirts on sale. So come buy T-shirts if you want to rock Love Africa. I think if it are okay, she's wearing one. That's our T-shirt, $10 a piece. So
yeah, I see it.
Yeah, it's only one color. So if you want to hear some African beats, Afro beats, come to the Goshen and put on your dancing shoes or anything African and come be around with us. And then Saturday, it's our big night. So we hope everybody got a ticket, because we are about to outtell. So please get your tickets before they finish, so we can have a good time on Saturday evening, because we are looking forward to having a good time. Dance, music, food, see some culture, something that's different. I don't want to give you a teaser, but come see something different. So we are hoping to see everybody. Tickets are on sale. $10 for students, $15 for faculty and general public. So we hope to see everyone.
Well, if there's no other comments or questions, I just want to say that it's an honor for me to be here. It's a very exciting, this is a good step. I'm glad that you all came. I've enjoyed listening to what you have to say. And I think and I hope that this is just the first of other subsequent activities between us. And if you have any suggestions for things that we can do, you can always talk to any one of us here. I'm in the Black Studies office. Pamela's with the African Student Association. We know the other faculty people here. Please feel free to make suggestions, and as Walter said, when you see us walking around, say hi. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.